main topic. The main topic we're going to talk about today, it's RPGs, is Xbox. Why Xbox, you say? Why Xbox at all? Because Xbox is in the game, right? It's been in the game since early 2000s when Halo first came out. And at first, I am one of the few people in the crowd that did not accept that console for what it is. But as the years gone by, you say what?
No, you're not. I was too.
Okay.
I was definitely not an Xbox fan.
Yeah. So I was call me a hater. I probably was an Xbox hater at the time. But as the console got more and more into its cycle, got more things, 360 really changed the way I thought about Xbox. It's like, okay, they came to play. Because the original Xbox, I would argue, was a Dreamcast 2. Like, Capcom games were getting over there. Sega games were getting over there. It was basically a Dreamcast 2. And that upset me at the time.
It was a more powerful PS2.
Yes.
It came out like 2 years later or something like that.
Yeah, it came out the same time as GameCube, the same year in November.
They both came out, so they were both technically more powerful.
Yeah, they were coming in swinging because PlayStation was holding on top. But Xbox, though, having the Sega on their side, that Capcom's on some of their sides, throwing whatever they want at that console and everything like that. They had my Jet Set Radio over there. They had my Otage in there. They had my Outrun. They had some of the Sega libraries over there. And then Capcom, they had some good titles over there and whatnot. But through the generations at the 360 time, there was a lot of JRPG games for that console. You had your Blue Dragon, you had your Lost Odyssey, you had Infinity. There was a game that only Square Enix made one game for Xbox. One game, it was called Infinity something. Anyways, you had Eternal Sonata. You had all these games for it. And then after that, Xbox One, they all disappeared.
Xbox One, I don't know. They were too busy trying to make a entertainment system and not a gaming system. And even the S series is having, trouble bouncing back. Well, they're more focused on their Game Pass, which is really what's keeping them afloat.
Yes. As we catch up now to where they're at, yes, that's their bad. But you're missing out one thing. Xbox started buying up studios. They were buying studios. That's one of the things. They wanted to build this up because I think this is them playing seriously. Like, okay, we need to step our game up. We're going to buy some studios.
Okay, as an Xbox hater, professionally, they're buying studios because they don't know how to make video games. Plain and simple. Because there are only few video games that they have. They already put out the newest version for the series, and they're kind of middling. I mean, the Halo, you heard about 343 Studios. They fired I don't know how many people from it. So Halo's basically about to die off. Maybe. I don't know.
Yes, depending how all these studios go. But
the only game they got doing well is like Forza. And then what else do they got, Fabian?
Hi-Fi Rush is doing very well. But we're missing the point
Hi-Fi
here.
Rush, yes. Hi-Fi Rush was a sleeper hit, which is crazy. Which PlayStation needs to do something now because Nintendo and Xbox has already done something. So, and it's just sad. I'm a PlayStation guy, but I'm a gamer first. So I'm 100% sure that PlayStation is either not going to drop a game or going to drop some garbage. One of the two. And when they ever do, they state of play. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Because I have no loyalties anymore. If Xbox takes over the reins, I will be Xbox all day.
Well, we will see what they did because, like I said, they have bought your Bethesda. They have bought maybe your Activision Blizzard. They're still
working. They're still working on that.
Yep.
Because Sony's thinking it's a monopoly for Call of Duty.
Yes,
they don't care about anything else, just Call of Duty.
In the Bethesda library, you had Tango GameWorks, the people that done your Evil Within, Tokyo, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Hi-Fi Rush, right? The only Japanese really studio under their belt, per se, right? Compared to them buying all these other studios. But Brian, I've been shooting this off the rooftop for a while because one of the weaknesses that they have is they can't reach Japan. No matter what they do, they can't reach Japan. And I'm like, well, you need to get a JRPG studio. And that's our main topic today. Xbox needs a JRPG studio. Okay?
I don't think they'd even sell unless they're just really doing bad, which is another problem with the studios that Xbox are buying. They're failing. Are their studios not failing, but not doing good either? Blizzard wasn't doing good. Activision wasn't doing so good. Bethesda wasn't doing so good. That's why they sold. Otherwise, they'd be like, why would we sell y'all?
True. But doesn't mean all those developers are putting out bad games. It's just, the Xbox is just not have more trouble with the marketing. But that's not what we're talking. We're not talking about the struggle Xbox. We're just talking about what do we think they're lacking. And I think
RPGs.
Out of their thing is RPGs. Hi,
yeah.
welcome to the Role-Based Gamer Show. Yes,
That's
JRPGs,
easy.
Brian. That's what they're lacking. Not RPGs. Not any
Yeah, it
RPGs.
is, yeah.
JRPGs.
JRPGs, which
Yes.
is with RPG elements.
Yes,
Yeah,
they got
they're
plenty
missing,
of Western RPGs, Brian, but they don't have JRPGs. Yes,
They don't.
there are JRPGs.
But they don't have any JRPG studios. They're not a Japanese studio like Sony and Nintendo.
And that's what they're missing. Yes, there are. Now, people in the comments could be saying, hey, they do have JRPGs on that console. They do. You do see Personas.
But they're not
You do
first
see
party.
Kingdom Hearts. You see all this stuff. But they
They're not
don't
first
have
party.
anything in-house. I'm talking about in-house RPGs. Okay? I mean, Nintendo has some RPGs under the thing. They're not as big as a lot of games, a lot of studios ones, but at least they have some. To your Fire Emblem, that one, Advance Wars, Super Mario, whatever, that wants to become an RPG once in a while. Your Xenos.
Yeah, but again, they're Japanese.
Yes.
It's easy.
Yes.
Sony, Japanese.
Yes.
It's
And
easy.
it's Sony. And guess what? Sony's is not caring about the Japanese studios anymore. They're focusing more on the blockbusters. So this is
They are.
perfect for Xbox to strike and say,
I was telling my wife that the other day. I said, this is Xbox's time.
yes.
They're buying up all these studios. Sony's being dumb. Nintendo's Nintendo. So y'all need to strike, because if y'all do, y'all could easily take this war console.
I think they
war
should
you got.
strike while the
They
iron's
should.
hot. Buy a Japanese studio, because they said, and I'm not saying in quote, but they did say, hey, we're not done buying. And I'm like, cool. You need a JRPG studio. You need a studio that could push out these JRPGs, because I know we have a lot here, but there's still some Western audience that still love JRPG games. And they want something fresh and new, in my opinion. Yes, you have your Personas. Yes, you have all the other ones. But these are long franchise series. We need something new, fresh. They're like, damn, this came out of Xbox? Like, I want that reaction, Brian. I want that. Is that what they're cooking up over there? I want that. Okay? And so I want to talk about some studios that is possible for them to look at. Or maybe you can argue about it and say, no, I don't think they would do that, Jeremy. I disagree with you. Especially our final pick, which we will save for last for the hot take. So let's talk about the first one here. Miss Walker, the people that did Last Story. For people that don't know, that was on the Wii. It was kind of like a set of a fantasy medieval style with the game style that kind of reminds you of Gears of Wars, but with medieval weapons. Pretty cool. They had done a game called Lost Odyssey. That is a very cult following for the Xbox 360 about a guy that can't die, but it's from... Now, people don't know Miss Walker is the head guy is from the guy that created Final Fantasy. And his last game he did was around like Chrono Trigger, and he wanted to create his own studio. Anyways, and then you have Blue Dragon. This kind of Akira Toriyama game that reminds you of Dragon Ball Z, but it's Blue Dragon. Now, I'm not saying these games were mega hits. I'm just saying that this is, at the time, Xbox was taking a chance on, okay, let's see if we can reach the Japanese audience. And these games are... besides Last Story, that's exclusive for the Wii, for Nintendo, but the other two are exclusive for the 360 at the time. And if I had to recommend one of those, I definitely recommend Last Dragon and Lost Odyssey out of those two. I thought that they were pretty good at the time. And so I thought they were a good studio. They're not as big, but you don't need I don't think you really have to have a big, humongous studio. You just need people that are dedicated to give you some good imaginary games. Miss Walker has the potential to give you that Final Fantasy thirst that you're looking for in the Xbox family, in my opinion. Do any of those games ring a bell to you at all, sir? Mr.
I
Brian?
remember Blue Dragon, and I've seen Lost Odyssey a bunch of times, and I was like, I don't know if I should get this, because I don't know if it's... I seen it on something, and I was like, I don't know if I should try this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I've heard of those two. I haven't heard of the other one though.
Okay. Now, Sega. We've been hearing rumors a long time ago that's been popping around. Sega's having struggles and everything, and Sega and Xbox are very, very nice, very friendly to each other. And especially Sega really helped them out with getting the word out over there in Japan of their connections and whatnot. But Sega is also connected to Atlus, which is connected to your Shin Megami Tensei series, which is Persona and their original series, or any other craziness that they did for that. Also, you get the Shining series, which, you know, it is a platform for them, even though it's not as popular as Fire Emblem. It's something over there, especially Shining. The Shining series has split into the tactical and the action base. And then you have the Phantasy Star, which Phantasy Star Online 2, Phantasy Star 2, not just Online 2. But that one is doing very well for itself. But a new Phantasy Star exclusive would be pretty cool. And then you also have series like the Valkyria Chronicles. Yeah, you have my favorite RPG game of all time, Skies Arcadia. That is also connected to that. You know, there's a lot of potential there. What do you think on that? You think Sega would be a good buy for Xbox? We're going shopping, Brian. Put on your shoes. We're going shopping.
Unless Sega's in dire straits, they're not going to get bought by Xbox. They're too busy putting their stuff on everything. They don't seem to be leaning towards one of the big three. So I don't think that would happen unless they're really, really hurting.
Here's my thought.
If they are really hurting and Xbox does offer, they'll get them.
I was going to say, like, let's say they have the option to shop. I doubt these studios are going to like, yeah, we'll let you buy us. You know, especially, you know, if you know Japanese studios, they really like being bought with people they have good connection friendly. They're not like the capital, like, hey, we got this much money, we want you. It's like, no, we got to build a friendship before we do that with you. So
it all depends. Like, is Sega owned by Sega? Because
it's Sega Sammy.
But because Bethesda and all of those, Arcane and all those, are owned by ZeniMax. Xbox bought ZeniMax. They didn't buy Bethesda. So that's how they got them. Or is it the other way?
Sega Sammy are a merge. So, yes, Sega owns some of that, and Sammy owns the other part, if I'm correct. But Atlas is owned by Sega, or they're a joint merger. One of these merges. People leave a comment down below. Whatever. Tell me I'm wrong. Either way, they are together on this. So, but is this a good home for Xbox? Should Xbox look at them like, Sega got a good library. We can use that for something. What do you think, Brian?
Would they do anything good with it? That's a good question. I don't.
Sega. I don't know. I think there would be some good stuff in there.
They could.
I mean, think about it. The Shin Megami Tensei is a pretty beloved series in Japan. Very beloved. And yes, it's popular here too, but not as popular in Japan. Because like I said, you got the Persona series. You got whatever they want to put over there under the Shin Megami Tensei name. Also, you're forgetting the 2Ds ones, like Odin Sphere, Muramasa.
Oh yeah, I got
Odin Sphere. Yeah.
I got that one.
Yeah. You got a lot of varieties.
Yeah, but those are owned by that's Vanillaware.
But published by Atlas. So does Atlas own those? Yes. In my opinion, I think they own them. But regardless, though, I think it'd be an interesting buy. I think that they could do something with that, especially with the they're really good with the online capabilities over there. I think they can really push that narrative of the online, especially Phantasy Star. Phantasy Star is a very a good series in its own. It'd be cool to get a new like traditional Phantasy Star, in my opinion, and they can use that to rival Final Fantasy if they push it right. I think that would be a good rival for that, in my opinion. And so. Let's go ahead and go to the number. Or do you have any other opinions on that?
No.
Okay.
I think I'm good. I mean, I think, like I said, I think they really need to strike. But if they can buy Sega, yeah, they should definitely buy Sega.
Okay.
But I don't know if they will. And I don't know. We'll see how it is.
Okay.
Yes, they do. They do own Odin Sphere.
Okay. Level 5. This is a studio that was pretty big for a little bit, but then they shut down their American studio and kind of stayed back in Japan because they weren't making a lot of money. For people who don't know, they did Ni no Kuni, that series. They did 1 and 2. Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. They did the first one. Ni no Kuni is made by somebody else, but they did do the first one. You have the Yokai Watch series that was very popular in the handhelds. In Japan, it was okay in America and whatnot. And then they have a new game that's coming out that we saw on the Switch Nintendo Direct. I think is Decon Police or something like that. It's kind of like a sci-fi. I'm very excited for that. I thought that game looks really cool.
They made Dark Cloud too.
They did make Dark Cloud, yes. And so they got the Dark Cloud series, which is funny you mention that because I am playing that for the first time. And so it's pretty cool.
It's old. I played a little bit of it. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a small studio that could really push some of their products over there, and they will get really good money for their financials and for all that stuff. Then also we have Nihon Falcom, and for people that don't know, they're the ones for the Yi series, YS. That is a very popular series among a lot of people that are really deep in the RPG games. That is a very popular series, and they're one of the most expensive games. Very expensive games. But also you have
What do you mean by expensive? Like expensive to make?
Expensive to buy. Those prices never go down.
Oh.
You never see those games on a you never see that game really under $20.
So they hold their value. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like if you get it like pretty well, great. That's great. But you have the Trial series and you have the Legend of Heroes series. And what makes this series very popular with people is very hardcore traditional JRPG style. So I think something up your alley that you will really like. With traditional turn-based with over-the-top badass finishers and moves that you could do on a character. Pretty cool. And so I think that one would be an interesting one because they already got a pretty good name for themselves in Japan. So buying them would really just ease it in for them and easy money to get in because Ys is a very popular series among hardcore RPG games and Japanese gamers.
They got like how many of those games? Like 13?
Ooh, I think they're on like 9, 10. And then I'm not even talking about I'm talking about the main entry. I'm not talking about all the side stuff because there's side Ys games too. And so, but in the numbers, they're like Final Fantasy. You have your original, but then you have all these spin-off Final Fantasy games. So it's kind of like that. And so, but let's get to the last one, a very hot take. Very hot take. Square Enix. Square Enix. So we had the rumors talk that people were talking about Sony's going to buy Square Enix. And
they've been saying that for years.
They said that for years, but it keeps
decades even.
Pop up. Now, here's the overall thing. My question would be for that: why would Square Enix sell itself? Right? Let's get this conversation out of the way. Square Enix is the only people with the most popular RPG games, in my opinion, the most grossing games in the RPG front. Why would they want to sell themselves? It does not make sense to me because there's no one else to rival them when it comes to grossing RPG games. Okay? There's no reason to do that. They can do this stuff on their own. I don't understand why they would let Sony buy them off. And then the rumor started like, that's why they sold off Eidos and Crystal Dynamics because of this, so they could look good for them and all that stuff. I don't believe that crap. I don't believe that. I feel like Square Enix
They sold them all because they were losing money.
Yeah, that's what I believe. Anyways, I don't think that they need to sell themselves. I'm not saying they're not putting an option up there to be sold. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I don't get why they want to be sold. They need to show me the numbers that they're really losing money to sell themselves because there's no way you're going to pop up Final Fantasy 16 and 7 and say, we're not doing very well. And so, but if they're up for sale, wouldn't it be an interesting twist if Xbox got Square Enix? So let's talk about that. I think it'd be interesting if Xbox did buy Square Enix. Just slap face everybody out of nowhere with that.
Square Enix ain't doing that bad to be sold to Xbox, so I don't think that will happen.
But
unless Square Enix is owned by somebody else and Xbox buys them, and maybe. But
let's have this what if conversation. What if Xbox did buy Square Enix? Let's just say an announcement came on the news. Do you think there would be an uproar? Do you think there would be people yelling out in the streets? Do you think your fan base, not your fan base, but your Sony fan base, would you be upset? Would you be yelling in the streets and like, what the fuck?
I don't really care. Like I said, I have no
loyalties.
Oh, okay. I don't think it'll happen. But again, I have no loyalty. Sony's being stupid. Okay. After just learning how big companies are just all pretty much garbage, I don't care. If they make a good game, I will just have to get a Series X.
Okay, simple. For you. But what about the fan base? You is different. A group of people is totally different. Do you think Sony fan base would be in an uproar? Do you think? Yeah.
Sony itself would be in an uproar because, like Final Fantasy 14, I'm sure makes them a pretty good amount of money. So if they took that and just put it over there, they'd start crying about it like they're doing with Call of Duty. They're mad about Call of Duty, even though Xbox said they still go over there, but they don't trust Xbox, which why would you? So it'll be the same thing. They'll cry about it.
It'd be interesting, right? Because for the longest time, along with Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16, and Final Fantasy 7, those games have been exclusive to Sony. And we have no shine of light if those games are ever going to shine on Xbox, which, you know, is very upsetting for a lot of Xbox gamers that, like, we would love to see those games on that console too, you know, especially I thought 16 would at least be over there, but I guess not. But either way, yes, I think it would be a giant uproar. I think people would be really yelling in the streets of this, but to me, it's almost being hypocritical because it's like, because it's the same way that Square jumped off the Nintendo. It's the way they would jump off the Sony, the Xbox.
They did that in what, 6th generation with PS1. No, that's 5th generation. Yeah, with the PS1, they jumped right off of Nintendo.
Yeah, and it took a long time for Square Enix to come back like, all right, here's a couple games here and there. But even to this day, Nintendo hasn't really got any of like a more modern Final Fantasy on them. They always got really the classics. Like the last one I would argue was 12 as their most recent Square Enix game on it. They didn't even get 13. So, and 13 I think would be able to run on the Switch in my opinion. But
it should. The Switch can run anything that's right above PS3.
Yeah. So I think
and some PS4 games with a bunch of like downgrades, but yeah, it should be able to run it.
But I would think it would just be so interesting to see, like, if Xbox got a chance, the opportunity to buy Square Enix, or Square Enix gave them the opportunity to do that. Just think about what these games would feel like on an Xbox, right? Your Kingdom Hearts is to an Xbox. Your Final Fantasy Online games will be on Xbox. Along with like Diablo and all of this stuff, if that plan works out.
The problem with that is the exposure, though. You're going to sell to less people. I don't know how much less, but you will eventually sell to less people if it's only on one system. And you
don't think people would migrate? You don't think people would just like, I'm done, I'm going to Xbox? You don't think it's strong enough to bring people over there?
People don't have the money to have every system. Some of us got lucky. Everybody had the money to do it. The eggs being $3,000 a carton now. They just don't have the money to do all that. So they're more than likely either going to keep whatever system they got and be like, well, I just can't play it. Or
I would disagree with that. I think the games talk for themselves. I have seen people buy a console just for a game. I think that's still alive and kicking.
Yeah, for what it is. Do they do better than games that's all of the systems versus just the one that's on it? Say a big selling system game and a big selling system game on all 3 systems. Which one does better? So I'm saying if they do that, they're gonna lose.
Final Fantasy VII, exclusive to Xbox, float over there. I would say people would float over there if it was an exclusive for that.
If they can, if people can,
I'm not saying it's impossible now. Yeah, but
they're gonna lose some kind of money. Is it gonna be top? Is it gonna mess with their bottom line? I don't know, but they're going to lose money.
I'm thinking more.
It's less exposure. It's going to be less exposure, so less people gonna see it. There are little kids that just got a Switch, and that's it. So
sure. In that case, but
if it came on Switch, they more than likely get it. There's going to be at least 100 to 2 million people that would pick it up. Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Just because it's a new game, they'll pick it up.
I think I'm looking more in the future. If they got it and they say we got Final Fantasy 17, and further on exclusive to Xbox, that would bring a lot of people over there.
If they can,
Kingdom Hearts exclusively would bring people over there.
There are diehard PlayStation fans that will not buy an Xbox.
But those are not the people we're aiming for. We're aiming for the future.
People that probably played a Final Fantasy game. So, like I said, they're going to lose some kind of money.
Sure, I think in the long run they would.
Whether it messes with their bottom line or not, I don't know. But they will lose some. They will lose a little bit of money.
But what about with Game Pass? What about Game Pass?
What about Game Pass?
All those games, day one, Game Pass.
Okay.
That would bring a lot of people over.
That's the same thing. And computers are more expensive. So you think they're going to have that too? Like I said, there are kids that's not going to have a computer. But there are kids that'll probably buy the game just because it's new. Just because it's new, they will buy it. And that's money for them.
I disagree. I think that you are underestimating this generation of people buying new computers and these new consoles right on sales, especially when you have 2 options like an Xbox S to an X as PlayStation to their own S to X.
Considering Xbox is behind all 3 systems, I don't think I am. Xbox is way behind on PlayStation 5, and it's way behind on Switch.
Okay. Let's have that kind of conversation here real quick. There was a time Nintendo was number 3 for the longest time. And then they got their stride. I believe Xbox can also hit that stride too with the right games coming out. Breath of the Wild for Nintendo really shot out the doors for that. Regardless if you like the game or not, it got the console selling. If Xbox had a banger enough, like Square Enix, the only people with the giant RPG games coming for that, I would say it would flock a lot of people over. I'm not saying everybody that got a PlayStation would just flock over there. I'm talking about newer people that are getting into RPG, new games, getting into the consoles. I think they would float over there. I really believe that.
That doesn't change the fact that P still lose money.
You lose money either way.
No.
Square Enix lose money. Nintendo loses money.
Yeah, but they would lose money if the game is just on one system. If you have it on everything, it'll get out there more than if it's just on one system. Or you can take a big
hit if it doesn't do well. It's a risk.
Well, then it doesn't matter. Then it won't do well. You make it seem like that if it's just on Xbox, it's going to do well.
I think
it's going to do worse than it would if it was on everything.
I think for the Xbox to gather their numbers, it would definitely skyrocket higher than where they're at if they were more exclusive.
Yeah, for Xbox.
Yes, but that's the topic. Xbox shopping. No, that's what we're talking about.
The topic is why would Square Enix sell when they can make more money by giving it to all?
No. Look at the notes I gave you. It's called Xbox needs a Japanese studio. This is the whole thing. This is not about comparing apples and oranges. This is about if they could buy Sony, this would be a big boost for them. This whole thing was about buying a Japanese RPG dedicated studio. That's all.
But the conversation went to they would do better if they were on one system.
No, I said they would do better for them because
Xbox,
because exclusives,
but not
because
for
of
Square
those.
Enix.
Say
but
what?
Not for Square Enix. It'd do better for Xbox, but not Square Enix. That's what I'm saying.
But that's not important to them. They're important to get the exclusive. If I was a company person, all I care about is getting my numbers up.
Yeah, but Square Enix won't sell because it would do less for them.
But
that's what I'm saying.
No, we know. Look, at the end of the day, Brian, none of these studios are probably going to sell themselves. We're just doing a scenario in my head, and for the fun of this conversation,
if they get bought.
We're just talking about what if they happen. What would be the outcome of it? One, Sony fans would be pissed. We would hear uproar about that, burning the streets like the Eagles when they found out when they lost or something like that. Then you got the Xbox fans. Really, I think they'd be cocky as hell about it. It'd be funny.
The problem is I don't hear about Xbox fans anymore. Most people they either play on Game Pass on the computer or on PlayStation 5.
Ron, you want to know why you don't hear nothing from them? Because there's not that game banger yet to really shout it out, right?
Well, yeah.
Starfield.
Starfield.
Yeah, if Starfield does well, then that's something they'll shout about. But if there is no way in hell that if you bought Square Enix, that is going to be quiet.
Well,
no way in hell.
Square Enix track record right now is not so good. That's my point.
Track record, that's arguable. But
or is it?
Yes,
or is it numbers that the last 3 things they did that was big games as a service have all failed? That's not a track record. That's facts.
Facts, yes. But my argument is who's doing better in Square Enix in the JRPG front?
Who's doing better than Square Enix and the JRPG? Nobody else really makes them though.
Yes, they do. You have Atlas. You have this list of people that we just mentioned.
Oh, okay. So what's so better than Persona 5 by what you call it? Because I'm not sure if Octopath Traveler is so better than Persona 5. Pretty sure it didn't.
But when it comes to a powerhouse like Square Enix that are solely focused on JRPGs only, it's hard to compete against that because there's not a lot of other studios that are just dedicated to JRPGs like that are big enough to go against that. That's like, Square Enix is like the Call of Duty. There's not a multiplayer shooter that's more popular than the Call of Duty series. And that could be for Final Fantasy. There's really no popular series in the RPG front or well-known or popularity by name than Final Fantasy.
Agreed, but that don't make Final Fantasy 15 still a failure. Not a big one, but it's still a failure.
Failure probably from a critic point of view. Failure on grossing? No.
No, I said it's not a complete failure. It's a failure, but it's not complete. And then 13 was also a failure.
Still sold very well for what it is. Now, if you want to compare it to other titles in that series, you could be 100% right on that. But it's still sold well enough to continue for that, in my opinion. I mean, you could go back to 8. You can go back to 9. It wasn't until 10 until it got more popular again.
Yeah, but all of those still sold well. 7 sold ridiculously well. 8 sold well, mainly because they thought it was going to be another 7.
Sure.
It didn't get received as well. And then 9 still sold pretty well.
Sure.
Like 13 is really where it kind of went off the rails.
Sure. But with all studios like Square Enix, the fact that they can take these hits and still have good hits under their chamber, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, sure. 3 failed game service. But you know who's picking up the slack for all that? Final Fantasy 14 Online. All these other small indie on these small titles of the HD 2D treatments, like your Octopath Travelers and your Triangle Strategies and all the other small titles that are coming out. They're still picking up the slack for it, so they're not doing bad. I just think sometimes we're looking at the ones that we're looking at one thing, but we're not looking at the overall picture. And to me, overall, I honestly believe they're still doing pretty well for what they're doing. Maybe they should stay away from game of service. Maybe that's the lesson we should learn from.
Well, yeah. But I don't think games of service ever works, but it does because people, but I don't know. Octopath Traveler 1 is not doing as well as you might think. It's not. It's okay, but it's sold.
Critic-wise or sell-wise?
Sell-wise.
You know it's multi-platform, right?
Yeah. And it's still not doing that great. It's only at 2.5 copies. And how long did that get? When did that game come out?
Well, okay, and we're really going off topic here, but you're comparing to new games. New games are not going to sell that much on a new title. That is just, we know as that. There's not a lot of new games that come out like a fresh new IP that hits the charts as high. I think 2.5 is pretty damn impressive for that.
I'm comparing games that did critically well and then games that didn't. Octopath Traveler did critically well. It only sold 2.5 million copies as of today, while Final Fantasy 13, which is pretty much panned by any critic or pretty much most people, sold almost the same amount in the same year.
But that's different with the IPs, right? That's bad for an IP for Iconic, but for a new IP, that's great. Bravely Default sold 2 million, I believe. That's great. For a game that people are not going to focus on and is solely focused on one console, like Bravely Default, that's pretty good. In my opinion, I think that's pretty good. So, all I'm saying is, for this main topic, it's not so much to talk about would they sell. We were talking about the what if, like, what happened if Xbox did get it? That would be a great win for them. I think that'd be a great win.
For them.
Yes.
It would be.
Yes, and that's our main topic.
That's I agree, but I mean, a lot of people who are Xbox fans, are they RPG fans, though? Because there's not really any on there.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It might actually make it worse. They might be like, I don't want to play this.
So you think, in your opinion, that it would be, you don't think people would come out of the woodworks to play more JRPG games if Square Enix was not under their belt?
It's iffy. Like I said,
I think they would. I think there's a lot of hungry JRPGs out there. They're just but Xbox is just not pushing it for it because it's not their number one focus.
Yeah, but Xbox has been around for almost 2 decades and they don't really have any RPGs. So I think most of the people that have one understand that, so they're not RPG players.
I will agree to a certain point, but I think that we got a little taste of that in the 360 era that a lot of people did enjoy for what is there. But it's all at the same time, you know, you never know until you put it out there to see what happens. And Final Fantasy is hard to say. It's hard to say it's not going to sell well on an Xbox exclusive.